Hey everybody. So today I want to talk about one of the questions I get asked most often about resumes, and that is how many years of experience or what experience should I list on my resume? And if you did a Google search, you would probably find a wide range of answers. I've heard two things most over the last 20 some years, and I would disagree with both, and I'll tell you why. One, I've heard you should put your resume on one page. People I know who've been doing career coaching for a long time even say this, and I disagree with it. Again, I'll tell you why. But I want to also tell you the second thing that I've heard, and that is go back 10 years. And I think I disagree with that one, obviously, too. I think both of those came about years and years ago when the average person had one or two jobs, maybe three in their lifetime. Because there was a time when people would get jobs and just stay with that company. And maybe they would move positions, but they would stay with that company and they would certainly stay in that industry. And so if that's you, and it's a let's say, academic or medical or specialty kind of situation, then a one-page resume makes great sense. And there are videos, and I'll post one about functional resumes. But today I want to talk about if you're going to use a chronological template, which is when you list your jobs in order by time with the most recent at the top, how far back you should go. My answer to that question is always do what makes the most sense for the employer based on the job. And actually, that's my answer with almost any resume question. Should I do this? What about that? How about all the things? I usually say, what makes the most sense for the employer based on the job? So here's a better explanation. If you were going to, let's say, for example, you were going to apply for a job in IT and you had been a stay-at-home parent for the last 3 or so years, and before that you were in IT, and before that you had a break for some reason, so you weren't necessarily in IT, let's say you were in customer service, but you actually had a lot of years of experience when you first started your career, let's say it's 15 years ago. It could be problematic if you skip that job in the middle, because the natural question any interviewer is going to have is, well, where were you? Were you not working at all? And certainly if you were home as taking care of your kids, you probably would not have something listed there, which I do have a way to list that. If you're interested, let me know in the comments. But if you only go back 10 years and a lot of your experience is beyond that 10, it leaves out your information. Also, it makes it look like you're of a certain age. If honestly, if you only go back 10 years, there's nothing wrong with whatever age you are, by the way. That's like a side note. They're going to find, an employer's going to find out how old you are anyway. So when you, again, side note, when you hear people say, oh, word it this way and do that, like, okay, maybe you don't have to identify which years you were in which college, but they're gonna find out how old you are. My advice, if you're worried about age on either end of the spectrum, is just own it. If you are of a more mature age, then that means you have a lot of experience to offer employers. And believe it or not, a lot of employers want mature candidates because they know that you'll be there on time, likely, regularly, at least willing to work, and understanding of some basic professionalism principles. On the other hand, if you are a newer graduate, you don't have a lot of years of experience, but you're willing to learn, and you can connect the dots of experience you've had, they can afford to pay you less, right? Because you're just starting out. So no matter your age, I would say step into it, own it. Also, they're going to see you probably on LinkedIn and you'll probably have a picture there. Okay, back to the question about what makes the most sense. Again, there are two ways, there are a lot of ways you can account for the number of years of experience. Let's say in this case with IT, you had 15 years of experience, then you had a break, then you had another few years, and then you took some time to raise your family. I would probably tell you to have instead of just work history section, which by the way, I would never call it work history, I would call it professional experience. Those are just better sounding words. If you didn't have IT experience, I would say just call that section professional experience. But since you do, and you're going to apply for this job in this company that's IT related, I would recommend you have a section near the top that says IT related experience. Sorry if I dinged you guys with the microphone. If you're listening on any headphone or earbud or whatever the things. Have a section that says IT related experience and then list the couple of jobs you've had. Even if there were some gaps, they're going to see that you were at one of those companies or a long company for a longer period of time. And they're going to go, oh, this, yeah, maybe there are some gaps, but like, oh, check this out. This person has a lot of experience. Underneath that, you wouldn't have another section for your other work as other experience. You could, but I think it's a missed opportunity to say related professional experience or something like that. So again, I would, if we're just answering the question, and I know I can go off on all these tangents, this is why I like lives, because I can just answer your questions in real time. But I would list however many years of experience for sure, go back as far as is relevant. And then just the other quick note to fit in is, if you leave out the jobs in between or on either side, again, it looks like a weird gap. So instead of just skipping them, I would consider adding those employments, places of employment, but then just have one, maybe two bullets that still directly relate to the IT job. So maybe again, you had a customer service job and maybe it was not IT necessarily, but you can still talk about customer service, which is IT related, right? Or if you talked about working in a fast-paced environment or a call center, or you had to work at a fast pace, maybe I just sort of said that. There are ways to talk about those, what seem like non-related jobs in a way that even an IT employer would value. There was something else that I wanted to talk about, I think, as it relates to, oh man, now I can't remember. See, this is why I prefer to do live. But in any case, I hope that answers your question. Do what makes the most sense for the employer. If you have follow-up questions or spin-off questions you'd like me to talk about, I hope you'll join me for my next live session. Or again, you can put your questions below. Thanks, everybody.